Hi there, students. This lesson will provide you with the information you need for your final graphic design assignment this trimester. This is a pretty long video, so you might need to pause and do your project as you go along with what I'm doing on my screen. So, yeah, the idea for this design is to create a band poster design, and yeah, so let's get started right away. So I'm in Adobe Illustrator, and I'm going to create a new document. And I should state that this lesson is using the full Adobe Illustrator suite. If you are using a mobile device, I will be posting a video for that shortly. So look for that right underneath this video. So I'm in new document. I'm going to click on for web. That's going to keep we're not going to publish this to web right now, but it's going to keep our file size smaller, so it'll be easier to post. So here, I'm going to label it with my name. So I'm going to use my last name, .final, just for final project, right? Inches here, and I'm going to go a width of 11 and a height of 17. Keep it in portrait orientation. We just need the single artboard. We are going to have a little bleed, a 1/4 of an inch bleed, and we're going to keep it in RGB color and screen 72. You can see those advanced options here. Yeah, that should work there. That looks good. That'll be a great start. Hit create here. Should give you a page that looks like this. Close this out. A couple of things that I want you to do to get set. Over here on your panels, these are the panels that we're going to be using. We are going to need our layers panel, our properties panel. You're going to need a swatches panel, a gradient panel, appearance panel. Actually, we don't need the stroke panel. I'll leave it there just in case, but transparency panel for sure. And your character and paragraph panels here. So that should get you started. If you need to take a minute now and get those panels set up, you know you can find all of those panels under Window and then find what you're looking for. So if, for example, if I'm looking for my gradient panel, here it is. And if I click, it's going to pop open like this. Yours might pop open like this. If it does, then you're going to want to click this double arrow button and drag it over and put it right in here with the rest of these. So that's what I want. Okay, excellent. Some more things that we're going to want to do to prepare for this is we're going to need to create some custom swatches, and that's in our swatches panel here. I don't have my swatches made yet, so let's make them. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click on this black right here, and you can see that's going to put a black fill right there. I'm going to go new swatch, and here I'm going to label this one orange. And I'm going to keep it a process color. Process color. And keep it global. And if we're going to be an RGB for this color, I'm going to go 243 for the red. I'm going to go 112 for the green. And 41 for the black. And you'll notice when I click up here, that's the orange color that we want. Do not add it to your library. This will slow things down a little bit if you do, so I'm going to not do that. But I am going to click OK, and that's going to create this orange right here. Okay, so to create the next swatch, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a slightly different way to do it. You're going to double-click on this. So if I'm on my orange, for example, I'm going to double-click on this fill swatch, or the fill swatch button here, and I'm going to say, hey, over here I want it to be an RGB. I want it to be RGB 255. So R255, my green 223, and my my blue RG 93. There we go. Red, green, blue, right? RGB. Hit OK, and you'll notice that that puts this yellow here, and you're going to go File, New Swatch, and we're going to call it Yellow 2. Process color, global swatch. Those are the numbers, and don't add it, and hit OK. And there you go. So here's my yellow right there. So I have a orange and a yellow. We need one more color here, two more colors actually. Let's go ahead and make a new swatch here. And we're going to call this dark brown. I don't know. It's like a brownish color. Process global. And our RGB numbers are 35, 0, and 14. And you should see this dark brown color and hit OK. There we go down here. And then we're going to do one more. I'm going to show you a unique way to get a color. So here we're going to go here, and you're going to go down here and you're going to say, hey, I want to load some swatches. And I'm going to open my swatch library. And here under our swatch default swatches, no, not default swatches, what are they? Our color books. We're going to look under our color books. These are specific books of color that are recognized across the graphic design and printing industry. We're going to look at our Pantone metallic coated, so Pantone metallic coated. That's the book we're looking at. Click, and it's going to show us a whole bunch. We're going to type this in 8660. 8660. There's the color we want. We're going to click and drag and drop it over here. And now you have that. That's a metallic, like, I don't know, copperish color. Close this. We're done with that. So now we should have 4 swatches now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a swatch group here. I'm going to call this Jazzfest. You'll see that folder pop up here. And I'm going to go orange, pull it down, release it, yellow, pull it down, release it, brownish color, and here's that copper color. There we go. 4 colors that we're going to use. And those 4 colors should kind of cover everything we need to create here color-wise. So now we've set up a couple of different things. We've set up our document. We've set up our swatches to get us started here. And so now we're ready to start actually creating a little bit. And so my first layer I'm going to create is going to be a background layer. So I'm going to just call this background. And in this background layer, I'm going to start by creating just a rectangle that's going to go from the bleed here all the way down to the bleed here, like that. And just happened to already be on the right color. This swatch, I'm on my brown color, which is going to fill the background. I do notice I have a black stroke here. Do this. See this black stroke? I don't want that, so I'm going to click on it and say none, so there's no black line around it. Perfect. Okay, that's my background layer. That was easy, right? Lock that layer down here, and then I'm going to create a new layer here. And layer 2, I'm just going to call this image layer. I don't like that. And here, with this image layer, I do need to do something I forgot about. I'm going to do a Command R, which is my ruler board. Rulers across the top here. And I'm just going to pull down. I want to create a little margin, a 1-inch margin all the way around. A margin is a space that goes from the edge of the board to a certain distance to make sure you don't go past that. So here, I did that really quickly. Let me show it again. So I'm looking at these rulers here and here, and I'm going to click on this ruler and drag down, and I'm looking at this side over here, and I'm marking it at the 1-inch mark. 1 inch. I'm going to grab another one from there and go down. I know my document's 17 inches, so 1 inch would be 16 inches. And I know I want to go at the 1-inch mark here. And I know this side of the document is at 11, so I'm going to stop at 10 on this one. Pull it across and stop at 10. Perfect. And I'm going to lock those guides. So view, guides, and lock. Well, I just unlocked them. You're going to need to lock those guides here. So now those are locked down. So now we're ready to work on our image layer, and we're going to create a rectangular shape here. And click on this rectangle. And I am going to do for now, a white fill with no stroke. I'm going to click on my artboard, and the width of this is going to be 9 inches. I don't want it to use up this inch or this inch, and I know this is 11 inches, so 9 would be the total left, so 9 inches. The height should be 10 inches. Double click that again and type in 10 inches, hit OK. That's going to create a box that looks like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a stroke on that with a gradient and a fill on that, again with a gradient, and I'll show you how to do that next. Get this set. I'm going to get it set right there, and perfect. We're gonna get into our swatches here. You're going to want to click here. Okay, so to create the stroke and fill that we want for this box, we want to highlight the box, and we're going to use our gradient here. Here's the gradient. We're going to click on this gradient bar down here, this slider, and we're going to use our colors that we've already created, or swatches. So I'm going to double click on this point, and I'm going to come down here and get the orange I want. Then I'm going to double click on this point, and I'm going to get the yellow that I've created. If you notice here, you can see it's already starting. Now, with this stroke around the outside edge, I do want the orange to be on the bottom and the yellow to be on the top. To do that, I want to create this angle here at 90 degrees. Can't see it very well. I need to go in here to my stroke, which I said I didn't know if I was going to need. I'm going to use it and put it to like a 3-point or maybe even a 4-point. Let's do a 3-point stroke, and let's take a look at how that looks here. If I click on this and go presentation mode, you can see the orange stroke. I might need to add, I have the orange on the bottom, the yellow on the top. I might need to add another point to that. So let's click on that and make it a 4-point stroke. There we go, give it a little bit more. You can see the orange there now. I think I like that. Good. All right, so now let's focus on the fill. So, actually, you know what? Before I do the fill, what I can do is I can look at my swatches and I can say, hey, let's create a new swatch. And we're going to call this a new gradient swatch. And you could title it orange or something like that. I'm just going to hit OK. And it created a gradient swatch right here. So now, the reason I did that is because now I can switch over to the fill. And I can click on my gradient swatch here, and it already fills it. Now all I need to do is do a rotation. If I click on my properties panel, I can see that the fill is like this here, right? I can go to my gradient and I can say, hey, this gradient I need to rotate, and this one I want the yellow on the bottom and the orange on the top. So I'm going to go -90. Yellow on the bottom, orange on top. So it's the opposite. Here's what your image should look like at this point. So yellow on top, orange on bottom. Orange on top, yellow on bottom. Perfect. That's exactly what we want so far. Escape out of that. Good. So now we're going to get into bringing the images in. So what I've done is from the PowerSchool Learning site, I gave you a pile of assets. I've already downloaded those assets, so I have those assets on my computer ready to use. You'll need those at this point. So if you don't have those yet, go to the PowerSchool Learning site and download, get all the assets from the PowerSchool Learning site. Take a minute now, pause the video, and go do that. Okay, good. I'm glad you got that done. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a file, place, here. And I want to go ahead and get that sunset JPEG. And you might have the link turned on. I'm going to unlink mine, and I'm going to hit place right here. You're going to need to, actually, before I continue, I need to lock this down. This should be locked down. Create a new image layer, and you can call it sunset. That's what I'm going to call mine, or image 2, or whatever you want. I'm going to click and drag all the way to the edge and release. Oh, that didn't work very well. Apparently I have this twice. Just need one of those. So here's the image I have, for some reason it's on this layer. I messed that up. So I'm going to click on this. It's not how I wanted it to be. So I'm going to click and pull this up here, and now that's on the right layer. Lock that layer down, and now I have it on the sunset layer like I wanted. I'm going to move this into place in that corner there, and I'm going to grab the corner here and just pull it in here. Hold shift when you do this so it adjusts proportionally. There we go. Pretty nice, yes. All right, so the next step here is to change this so that it kind of matches this color toning in the background. And to do that, you're going to have to create a unique effect using your transparency panel. Here is my transparency panel. You can see the image that I'm working with here. It's on normal mode, and I really want to change this to screen mode here. What that's going to do is it's going to take the color from the background and apply it onto the image here. If you notice, there's this really harsh edge on the bottom. Do you see it? What I want to do is I want to soften that edge just a little bit. And so to do that, what I decided to do is I went to my appearance panel here. And I said, hey, in this appearance panel, I want to click on this box. That's my image. And I want to go to Effects. And I'm going to go in here to Stylize, and I want to feather it. And I'm going to feather it a 0.75 inches. And that should go okay. And now look, that smoothed that out a little bit. Do you see it? So, yes, that should work. That looks pretty good to me. So far, so good. So now what we need to do is we need to bring in the Jazzfest outline of the musician. So I'm going to lock this down, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to call this one image 2 or something. Image 2, and I'm going to bring in the musician. So file, place. You can see I'm repeating some of these steps, right? So the Jazzman outline.ai is what I need. I'm going to bring it in. Just hit OK on this, and he's hooked in here. I'm just going to do a single click, and that'll place the full-size image in. And I'm just going to arrange it. I want the bottom edge to be right on the bottom of this, so it looks like he's like coming out of the frame. And I do want his hat to be in the frame like that. Boom. Yeah, I like that. Okay, good. Now, if I click on this guy, what I do want to do is I want to make him so that he can become an outline that fills with another image. Okay, so to do that, I am going to double click in and double click again until I get to, actually, you know what? I might have to use my direct select tool and select right on this thing. There, that's what I'm looking for. And you'll notice how the fill is here and the stroke is here. And so what I really want to do is I want to fill it with none. So I clicked on this button, which fills it with white and gives a black outline. And I really want to put a none on the fill, and now it still has a black outline to it. One thing to note, direct select tool selects this, and I might just have to click on this guy, and that selects all of it. I'm looking here, and notice how it's a group, and a group, and a group. There's a bunch of layers in here, and we really need to get rid of some of these layers. It's too complex right now. So what I need to do is I need to ungroup some things, but I also need to get it down to just this compound path here. So here, when I see this clipping path, right, I'm going to delete that. And this one too. Good. And this is a clipping group. So I'm going to say object ungroup. There we go. And this is another one. So select it and then object ungroup. And one more here. Object ungroup. No. compound path. Might be good. It's not going to let me ungroup that one. Let's see if it'll work like this. I think it might. So now I have my image 2 there. Create a new layer. And on this layer, we are going to call this one the palms layer. And I'm going to go File, Place, Palms JPEG, place it in, and I'm just going to place it like this. I do want to switch these. I want the palms to go underneath the image, and I do want to select them both. So I'm going to click on this little circle here. That selects the Jazzfest guy. I'm going to go Shift and click on the second one here. So now they're both selected, that and that. And then I'm going to say Object, Path, I'm sorry, not path, clipping mask, make. There you go. See how I did that? Now, what I've done is I've said, hey, the palms image only shows up inside of the Jazz Man image. See that? Now, they are still separate though. See? He's there and he's there. They're separate. So what I want to do is I want to click on this little button here on the image, on the palm image here. And I might have to double click in. And now I'm on this. See it? Use my selection tool and resize this. I'm going to hold Shift when I do it. And I'm going to resize this so it fills the whole thing. Making it pretty big. And I'm going to have to move it to the bottom. And I still haven't made it quite big enough, so I'm going to hold Shift and drag this out. Now it's covered. Now I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm moving that image behind until I get the palm trees to line up where I want them, where I can see the beach and the palm trees. And I'm going to bring it down a little. And now it's just about like, hey, where do I want to fit this so it looks cool, right? I think something like that looks good. That's what I was going for right there. So now I have that image inside of the other. I like the way that looks. We're moving right along here. Okay, so I'm going to lock both of those layers because we're done with that. So now we're working big to small, right? Always biggest to smallest. So the next thing I think is this text that kind of flows in here. So that's the next thing we're going to do. So we're going to go boom. We're going to call this text layer 1. Oops. Text 1. And the trick for this text layer is to use the type on the path tool and the pencil tool, right? So here underneath your paintbrush tool, if you click and hold, there's a pencil tool. And this pencil tool, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create this shape where the text is kind of like flowing into or out of this saxophone. So I'm going to click, drag, and make this kind of interesting shape. That was pretty good on my first try. If you need to do it a couple of times, Command Z and then do it again until you get this kind of nice flowing line here. Type tool, underneath the type tool, click and hold, there's a type on a path tool here. If you hover, I'm going to zoom in a little. If you hover on this path, you'll see that you can click right onto it, and now I have my type on a path started. If I go type on a path options, and I can flip it, I'm going to hit the preview so you can see that flipped it over. See right there to there. And I'm going to leave everything else just how it is for now. If I need to adjust it later, I can come back into this. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to set my typing characteristics here. So I know I don't want Myriad Pro. The font that I'm going to use is the Bahas 93 here. And I don't remember the size, so I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to, let's move this layers panel over just a little bit. Actually, you know what? We could close that down. I'm going to use my selection tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see. There are two handles here, one that controls the left side and one that controls the right side. I want to pull this right side all the way over. I'm I'm going to back out just a little, all the way over, so it ends right in here somewhere, like that. And use my type tool. Actually, you know what? I think I can just double click into this. There we go. And the text is supposed to say, move your feet to the beat, with an exclamation point. And I'm going to highlight that by double clicking onto it. And I'm just going to click this button because I don't know what size this is supposed to be, but I do know that I want it to go all the way to the end. So I'm just going to click it until it reaches over there. And if I go too far, notice some of it deleted out. It basically just went off of here, off this path, beyond. So that means I've made it too big. So I'm going to back it down. Aha. A 47, a 46, maybe a 46 looks good. I like that spacing. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and change the fill. I have a swatch that I already created. Here, this is the metallic color here that we created, that Pantone 8660 coated. Click on that, and that'll adjust that. And there we are. That's what we're looking for. Looks beautiful. Now that I've backed out, I realize I'm a little bit far away from here still, so I'm just going to click on the whole thing and use my down arrow to nudge it down towards the saxophone. I think I like that a little better. That's what I'm looking for right there. So now let's take a preview of this here, presentation mode. And you can see what our poster design is starting to look like right now. Really like the way that that's turning out. Great, okay. Escape. Next section. We're looking to create the type that goes at the bottom of the music band, the band poster. So I'm going to take my type tool and create, we're going to need a couple of text boxes. The first text box is going to go from the left side here to the right side here, staying within the margins. And the height of this box isn't super important right now. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to type in the first part because it's short. Jazzfest space 2020. Highlight this and click. I like to click this button here. And then I can take this one and say, hey, no black on that. And this Jazzfest is going to be in that same font family, but it's going to be a little bit bigger. Oh, somehow it got changed. This font, I'm going to go bigger than 72, so I'm just going to click this up button until I get it to where I want it. Oh, it got changed again. That's weird. There we go. Let's get it. I think I want this right around 90 points. 90 points looks good. And now that I have that, I do want it to space all the way across here. So I'm going to do a little trick. An Option right arrow spaces out. It actually adjusts the spacing between the letters. And that's what we're looking for. So I'm looking to space those letters out just a little bit, which is what I just did there. And notice, though, that it's still not perfect. There's space here and not here. So to fix that, I'm going to go up here to my paragraph. And if you don't have this control panel open, you can do that here under Window Control. But you can also find that under your character and paragraph. So here's my paragraph, and I want to center it. Notice it's the same here and here. So now I've centered that on the page there. Awesome. So that's kind of like the header for the information that goes on the bottom. I'm just going to adjust that there. I like that. Good. Jazzfest 2020. Now, the nenext thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text box. Click on your text box. Click once on your artboard. I'm going to keep the 9-inch width, but for the height here, actually no, I'm going to keep neither of these. I'm going to take the width, and I think what I want to do is I want to go, let's see, 1, 2, maybe 3 inches. So I'm just thinking about this. If this is a, cancel that for a second. This is 11 inches from here to here. So this is 9 inches from the inside of this. And I really want to go like 4 inches and 5 inches, I think, is what I want to do. So let's try this here. And a width of 4 inches. A height of probably, I don't know, 5 inches. Hit OK. And that's creating this box here. Made my height too big. But I'm going to go like that. Let's just bring this up here. I want this text to stop here. So like that. That's where my text is going to fit. That's where it's going to live. Now, I need a second box, so I'm going to Option drag this across. And we might have to adjust this later. But this box needs to be slightly bigger than this box. So I actually think I'm going to adjust this, the size of this box. So I'm going to look in my properties. And right now this is a 4-inch wide box. Let's make it a 3-inch wide box. Like that. And move it to that edge. And this is a 4-inch wide box. I might need to make that a 5-inch box. And adjust it here. Like that. That's what I think I want. Now, I left the fill on white just for the time being so that I could see those boxes and how they're going to fit the space that I need. And we might have to adjust these, but for now that'll work. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to put no fill and no stroke on those, both of them. And I'll know that they're there because I created them and they're sitting right here. And when you hover, you can see it like that and like that, right? So next, what I want to do is I'm going to do a file, place, and I'm going to grab my Jazzfest DOC, right? My Jazzfest doc. This is just type. Place it in, and I'm going to remove all formatting. This button here, you're going to need to click that and hit OK. And you have it hooked onto your cursor here. And I'm going to hover into this box and click right on it. It's very difficult to see anything on there, so I'm going to zoom in. And if I look closely, you can see some type in there. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to do Command A. That highlights it all, right? And once I'm into this, I'm going to click this button like I have been doing to fill it with white, and then no black stroke on that, right? So it just has a black white fill. I see there are some extra returns on this, so I'm going to delete those out. So those are gone. See, that's gone. This is the header text that I don't need. Delete that. Get rid of that. And this should be in 2 parts. The first part should say 3 sultry days of sizzling nights of the best blues, swing, big band, and jazz in Miami. Then the second part should say performances throughout South Beach by, and all this should be on this second part. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I am going to highlight the whole thing by using a Command A, which is the shortcut key for select all. And I know that I want to use a specific font. If you look in your assets, which I downloaded, and here's my download, there's an asset, and it's Marion TTC. That's a font. Double click it. Your font book will open. Install the font, and say, click here to install, and install checked. And that'll give you the Marion font that you need. I've already done this, so it's giving me an error. I already have it. So get this out of the way. And here, we're back in here. I'm going to say Marion is M-A-R. And there's my Marion regular font. Click on that. And I believe I want this font to be 24 point. Nope, too big. 22 point, 21 point. Oh, wait. Let's see. Let's try that 24 point. That's not quite big enough. Just, I'm going to do this. The last word on there should be Miami. Days, there we go. And we're just a little off. Notice my days got bumped down here. I'm just going to take my selection tool and grab this spot here, and I'm just going to move this over just a tiny bit. So now it says 3 sultry days. Yeah, that's what I want. Now, this part down here is added in. I think what I'm going to do is I am going to center align this and see if I can't make this slightly bigger. Command A, nope, not what I want to do. Command A, and I like that. I think I'm going to leave it like that. 3 sultry days, sizzling night. Now, what you'll notice is that what I've created is I've gotten this whole part to fit how I want it, but the second part doesn't quite fit, and it leaves us this little red box here. It's saying that this little red box is an error, basically telling me I have overset text. I have text in this box that you cannot see, which I know I have. So what I do is I'm going to click on the red box here, which if you notice, it puts some type on my cursor. Do you see it? And I'm going to hover over here, and now with that loaded, I want to click on this box, and it connects them. See how it does this connection thing? It links them together and basically takes all the extra text that was hanging off of this box and drops it into this box. And now if you notice, I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to get this out of the way, and you'll notice I have more in here because I've made this text way too big. So what I want to do now is I'm going to actually highlight all this text and make it much smaller for now, just a 12 point, just to get it all into the page correctly. See how I'm doing that multiple times? And actually this last part doesn't even go here, so I'm just going to highlight this last part and Command X, which is the shortcut for cut. And I'm going to click out here and make a new text box and go Command V, which is the shortcut for paste. I am seeing that this got thrown at the bottom here, which I don't want. So I don't want that. So I think I'm just going to do a hard return on that. Now I have it over here. And on this side, what I want to do is I want to create this with a left alignment and increase the size of this like that, 20 point. And while I have it highlighted, I'm going to do an option down arrow to space out the text. I'm spacing the lines of text. That's what I'm doing. There we go. Now, I've done that. I might have to actually go back a little because what I want it to look like is performances throughout South Beach by, and then I'm going to click here and do a tab in, a tab in, a tab in, Johnny Walker and the Fifth Element, and many more. I'm going to go here. One thing I don't want is this hyphen that's here where it says special, right? I'm going to click on this box. I'm going to say under paragraph, there's a hyphen here, no hyphens. Unclick, and that should remove the hyphen out of this. Oh, why did that not remove the hyphen? I think because I did a tab there, which I want the tab to be here. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'm liking the way that's looking. Great, great, great. Boom. Now, we are nearly finished here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this, and this should be that other font, the Bahas, there. And what I'll do with this to make sure it's perfectly centered is I'll actually grab this and pull it out, not like that, and Z that, I undid that. We need to make this, we need to double click this to make it so that I'm not stretching the text, I'm only stretching out the text box. See how the text didn't change in size? Only the box did. And make sure that you're on center alignment. So under my paragraph, center alignment. So now, because I have this perfectly to this side and this side, this is perfectly centered. And I'm just going to tighten this up just a little and maybe move that down towards the bottom so it gives it a little space at the bottom. I like that. Pretty nice. I went a little too low off the page there. It's hard to see that guide. There is a black line there that's showing where the page is. There we go. I like that. Awesome. This is looking great, great, great. One last little thing to do here. I'm going to bring this in here. I'm going to lock this text layer that I created because that's done. And I'm going to add one more layer, and I'm going to call this the note layer. And I'm going to do a file place of this little note here. And I'm not going to link it or anything. I'm going to hit place. And I'm going to say I want to place the artwork here. And hit OK. And I'm going to click and release, and you can see the little note that it created here. And it's a little bit too big. I'm going to go Object Transform and scale it down. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to scale it. I think by half. Should we try 50%? I'm going to click on Preview here. And I'm going to go 50%. Click. Yep, that looks great. I do want to do 50% uniform. And scale the corners and scale the stroke effects. There we go, that's better. Click all those buttons. Scale the corners. The stroke effects means that the stroke scales 50% as well as the image. Perfect. Hit OK. I like that. I'm going to zoom in just a little here. And one of these notes goes right in line with each of these artists. So, boom. And then I'm going to Option, Shift, Option Drag, and then Shift to keep them in line. And then another one. And then another one. That's it. All right. That should cover it. Let's take a look at our final poster design in presentation mode. That is a thing of beauty. All right. If you follow all these steps, this is what your final poster should look like. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and if you're doing if you're using a mobile device, check my next video that'll be published ASAP. Thanks for watching, and like I said, contact me if you have questions or concerns about how to complete this project.